Welcome, and today we're going to talk about if the season pass is worth it or not. As we get into it, I want to talk about what it costs and what it offers. The Season of Splicer pass costs 1,000 silver or 10 USD and unlocks several things. The content from the pass itself is as follows: the Cryothesia sidearm and an ornament, as well as the catalyst boost for the catalyst quest, a full Splicer ornament armor set for each class, XP buffs and playlist drop buffs, decrypted data drop increases, which is the seasonal activity upgrade currency, an exotic cipher, 7 exotic engrams, 2 ascendant shards, a finisher, and 2 emotes, as well as several resource packages along the way. The Season of Splicer Pass also unlocks several seasonal activities. Override is a 6-man activity that swaps on a rotation each week between different locations as you fight against the Vex invasion. Expunge is a 3-man activity that leads you to destroy a Vex mine in a series of missions across planets as part of the weekly story. And then the weekly story quests are quests that will have you fight the Vex to end the Endless Night and disrupt the Vex's plans. While doing all of this, you'll also be able to unlock new seasonal legendary weapons. Under the kinetics, you have the Farewell, the Ignition Code, and the Chroma Rush, which are a sidearm, a grenade launcher, and an auto rifle. Then under the energy weapons, you have the Grid Skipper, which is a Void Pulse Rifle, and Sojourner's Tail, which is a Solar Slug shotgun. And finally, you have under the heavy weapons, the Shattered Cipher, which is a Void Machine Gun, because we needed yet another. Now that I've covered everything that you will get with the pass, I want to cover some personal thoughts, as well as talk about the value that the pass gives you. The exotic is very mediocre. Used best as a novelty weapon currently that you'll vault after the new feeling wears off. At most, you'll use it to get the catalyst and then forget about it. There's nothing amazing here, and if it were only the exotic that mattered, I'd skip this pass. The ornament set to me looks really good, and it's not hard to forget how much value Bungie puts on armor ornaments. Most ornament sets cost 1,500 silver, so if this were in the store, each set would cost that, making the total 4,500 silver or 45 USD. I think that these look clean and can easily be integrated with other pieces to make good fashion, but at the same time, we just received the ability to make any armor we've ever acquired into an ornament, which personally lessens the value of the season pass ornaments. If you like them, these are really good and help add a value to the overall purchase decision. The XP buffs and playlist drop buffs are massive. 32% personal XP buff and 8% fire team buff makes for a 40% increase in XP gains if you're running content with friends. Even if you aren't, you can take advantage of your friends' buffs by landing on a planet with them before accepting quest rewards, bounties, and challenges in your inventory. With the stressed importance of the seasonal artifact mod, and with the release of the Master Vault of Glass being at 1350, which is 30 levels above the power base cap, I believe any boost in XP on this long grind is worth it, and for 1,000 silver, you can almost half the amount of time it takes to grind XP. With the ghost mods on, you will. If you plan to do in-game content such as Grandmaster Nightfalls or the Master Vault of Glass, then this alone is a great enough incentive to spend $10 in my eyes. I'm going to cover the rest of the Season Pass content in one fell swoop now. Playlist drop increases, decrypted data drop increases, an exotic cipher, 7 exotic engrams, 2 ascendant shards, a finisher, and 2 emotes. Yes, for the 1,000 silver, I would declare it worth it with these rewards on its own. Decrypted data is important for seasonal activity vendor upgrades, as well as for trying to get god rolls for the seasonal weapons. More of this means faster upgrades and more chances to get the roll on the weapons you're looking for. Seasonal gear drops itself are pretty mediocre, with most coming in at low stats, but this allows you to have an extra avenue for random rolls on weapons and legendary shards from the previously mentioned gear. This will also help you level if you're still trying to raise your base power level potentially. Everything else is just icing on the cake. I'll take any avenue that gives me ascendant shards, and exotic engrams are always nice for trying to feudally get a good stat roll or for unlocking new exotics for the first time. The seasonal activities are where the pass truly shines. The missions may be few, with you grinding the same override over and over for a week at a time, but the drops and the story more than make up for this. The activity itself isn't bad and is a fun way for them to introduce casual 6-man content. The seasonal story has been picking up since the Season of the Hunt, and after the success of the Season of the Chosen, this is another nice step forward in giving us new dialogue between factions and races. I'm not going to get into it all for spoiler reasons, but if you like Destiny 2 story and lore, this entire season is amazing so far. The expunge missions are also a nice shakeup, letting you bring 2 friends, though it's easily soloable given that you're at the proper power level. Each expunge helps act as a catalyst to move the seasonal story quest forward, while giving a new puzzle to solve weekly. All in all, the activities and story are definitely a big selling point, and just like the XP buffs, can be a sole determinant for why you should purchase the season pass. Now the weapons. Oh, the weapons. These babies were handmade to feel fun to use while also absolutely slaying. If you follow any Destiny content right now, several creators have gushed over these weapons already, rightfully so, because the majority are good. I want to do a quick overview of each weapon while giving my opinion at the same time. So here we go. The Farewell is a kinetic 360 RPM lightweight sidearm. I don't typically use sidearms, but when I do, this one feels really good. The lightweight frame means that it will increase your movement speed and it'll have really good handling. It can roll with a lot of good perks, including fully auto trigger and frenzy, which is my preferred perk combo. Next, we have the Ignition Code, which is a lightweight frame kinetic grenade launcher with remote detonation. With spike grenades, slide shot, and demolitionist, this thing is an absolute terror in PvP currently, and is extremely good in PvE as well for a kinetic slot. For PvE, you can easily exchange Vorpal in place of demolitionist and see a damage increase against majors and bosses. Chroma Rush is another belle of the ball within the seasonal weapons. Not only is it good for PvP and PvE, able to melt other players very quickly and is a mob clear monster, it also has several different roles which can be considered really good or even god roles depending on preferences and playstyle. This makes it phenomenal as it is possible not only to get very easy from Engram enhancement, sharing a focused Engram with Ignition Code, but also the chances of getting a more than acceptable roll are very easy. I've used this in all content so far at some point or another already and really enjoy its versatility. The next weapon up to bat is going to be the Grid Skipper, a Void Pulse Rifle. With its rapid fire frame, it enjoys deeper ammo reserves while also receiving a reload speed increase when the magazine is completely empty. It fills the slot with two other guns, Blast Perdition and Premonition. As all three of these are Void Pulse Rifles, I feel it's fair to compare since Blast Perdition is a world drop you can get, and Premonition you can get from Pit of Heresy very early on. Against these, it has the lowest range, but makes up for it by having an extremely high RPM comparatively, and better recoil management with its recoil being all vertical and one of the highest aim assists in the game, topping out at 80. This will shred enemies close to mid-range. What it suffers from currently isn't its fault. This gun will see very little end-game play due to the fact it's a pulse rifle. Pulse rifles do not currently have a seasonal mod for champions, meaning that if you bring a pulse rifle, you are losing damage from having two primaries or putting the entire responsibility on your teammates to handle the mods. I'd consider this weapon a sleeper because of this, and I hope that it truly starts to shine once next season kicks up. Coming in hot next is Sojourner's Tale. This solar shotgun is a precision frame, which means it is a slug shotgun. Slug shotguns in in-game content see a lot of use thanks to their high damage output, allowing people to absolutely destroy raid bosses. A common meta is the double slug, and Sojourner's Tale has a few perks that will let it shine here. In the third perk slot, I'd recommend either Quick Draw or Auto-Loading Holster. Both of these can immensely help with keeping uptime between weapon swaps. For the fourth slot, I'd recommend Frenzy. The rest are novelty at best, with Killing Wind being the only other choice I'd recommend. For boss double slug meta, I believe a good roll in the first in last out would definitely beat out a Sojourner's Tale, but at the end of the day, it's still a good shotgun. The last weapon and the only heavy weapon for the season is the Shattered Cipher machine gun. This is a Void machine gun. It falls into a place where we already currently have two Void machine guns, both obtainable from raids. The Corrective Measure from the Vault of Glass and Commemoration from Deepstone Crypt. All three of these have the same problem though. They are machine guns. Machine guns hit like wet noodles in content currently, and there are hopes of that changing in Season 15, but I will not hold my breath. It may be worth getting a good roll, but I still prefer the Corrective Measure and the Commemoration both because of their unique raid perks. Corrective Measure is also about to get a new version with the Master Vault of Glass, which may make all of this a moot point since that version might be the best choice in slot, hands down. So for the guns, I definitely think there are enough good guns to grind for and help add value to the current season pass. Each one has unique season perks that can be obtained, although the tried and true perks available previously are still what I would lean towards. With the dwindled pool from sunsetting, these weapons will help breathe fresh air into the game for you, as well as give you some solid guns to run content with. I heavily recommend getting at least a decent roll on most of these. When it comes to free-to-play players, I get asked if seasonal content is worth it without DLC. The first thing I'd recommend is that if you want to do in-game activities, you should 100% get the DLC. With sales being very frequent, it's possible to obtain the entire game with all DLC for half off. That being said, if purchasing the DLC is off the table but the season pass is possible, I'd recommend getting the current season pass. It will give a few more powerful and pinnacle rewards for grinding power level, as well as unlocking more story and activities to play. With the current raid being a free-to-play one, having these extra weapons and loot sources will help greatly with getting up to level to tackle it, or even with doing your weekly clears. Overall, I deem the Season of Splicer a worthy investment. It has a lot of new content, weapons, and story available that all lend to a positive future for Destiny 2. I liken the season passes to a subscription service at this point, with it being something that helps support the future development from Bungie. As an optional one, however, I find the value extremely high and very much worth it for the price point they offer it to us at every 3 months. If you watched this far, thank you so much for the support. Continue supporting me by liking and subscribing if you haven't already. If you have, then maybe share me with friends. I'm going to be putting out content at a regular basis, and you can even catch me streaming on Twitch. I'll be focusing on PvE content and content sherping. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.